Canadian and support Canada West and Diablo, the two best names in the boot business. So save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save On Foods. Buy Canadian. They're terrific.
Across rural Alberta, volunteers and community groups work hard to make life better for their neighbors, creating new playgrounds, better rinks, and gathering places that bring us together. Vision Credit Union is proud to lend these local heroes a helping hand. Apply today for a Helping Hand grant up to $10,000 to support your community's next big idea. Let's make great things happen together. Applications are open until January 31st, 2026. Learn more at whatsyourshare.ca.
You haven't set your lineup yet, right? It's Fantasy Frenzy with Halley and Douglas on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
Just after 11 o'clock, welcome in to Fantasy Frenzy here on Sports 1440. Brandon Douglas sitting in for the con man this morning, flanked by Donovan Paulson on the ones and twos, Josh Fenwick, keeping us online streaming where you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, Twitch. If you're just listening, you know, the good old AM radio dial is there for you. You can also stream online there, too, just for the audio, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn app, and our own website, sports1440.ca. Good morning. And if you're just joining us for the first time in the year of our Lord and Savior, 2026, Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today. You can get your text in, 1-833-401-1440. So much to get to on a Monday morning. Playing catch-up from the weekend when we had the Oilers in action, a less than inspiring effort in their loss to the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday afternoon. World Juniors just about to wrap up. We have bronze and gold medal games today. Unfortunately, Canada playing for the lesser of those two medals as they fell to Czechia. Third straight year they have their gold medal hopes dashed by the Czechs. It was a wildly entertaining game. A few questions getting brought up about how the Canadians came up short yet again. And then NFL football, the regular season is in the books. We know the playoff matchups for next weekend. We also know when those games are going to be getting played with the schedule coming out last night during what was a thriller of a Sunday Night Football finale determining the last playoff spot in the AFC. And on the piggyback of that, the coaching carousel is in full rotation. Names out there being let go this morning: Kevin Stefanski, Pete Carroll, Jonathan Gannon, Raheem Morris last night. And you have to think there might be a few more yet to come as the day progresses. One more time, 1-833-401-1440 is how you can get in on the conversation with us. The show is always brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky, WilhaukBeefJerky.com, only available in Leduc. Donovan, good morning. It's a little rare having you in here on a Monday at this time of day, but appreciate you being here. The con man taking a couple days for himself and the fam. I believe they're jetted out to the West Country this weekend and into the start of this week. Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fun to be here. Always, I'm here most of my time when I'm filling in with you, Duke.
That's true. Very true.
It's a blast as always. And I think Conman's in Jasper, I think is where he said he is.
It's one I know very, very firsthand. He's talked about it on this show and others plenty that he loves Jasper. Probably his favorite place. Goes out there a couple times a year. This time in the winter season. Hopefully the roads were pretty kind to Connor and his lovely wife. And I believe they were taken the wee baby Benny with them, maybe for his first venture out into the YASP, as the locals call it, or at least one local that I knew that when I went to university, she called it that as a local gal out there. But no, safe travels to Cons. We'll look forward to having him back on Wednesday. Donovan, I kind of touched on it in the opening riff there. There are so many things to discuss this morning. I'm really not too sure where to start, but since you're in here, you're part of the tandem that works pre and post game for the Oilers all season long. Let's start with the Edmonton Oilers. And this is a team that since Christmas has really been leaving a lot to be desired in terms of effort, production, kind of falling back into some habits that we saw earlier in the season. Most notably, I think for me, in my eyes anyway, and Saturday's game was the best representation in the defensive zone. Pretty soft in their coverage, both in the zone, off the rush. And you got to give credit to the Flyers. They played hard on Saturday. But in Cal Pickard's return to the crease after a rough, less than ideal night for Connor Ingram the game previous, his teammates really didn't give him much help in there on Saturday afternoon.
No, not at all. Right? It was. I mean, that if you were tuning into the Carrier show when I was filling in, one of my New Year's resolutions for the Oilers was find some level of consistency, particularly in your own zone. And the Oilers have totally thrown that out. They were awful defensively against the Flyers. They weren't very good defensively against the Bruins either, but particularly against Philly. I thought they got outworked. Outside of the first 5 minutes, they were pretty fine. Like, they were decent.
Yeah.
But then outside of that first 5 minutes, they just got outworked the rest of the night. It was unbelievable. They couldn't get anything going. Offensively right now, this is the Connor McDavid show. And Zach Hyman is following along as he usually does.
He's riding shotgun.
He's riding shotgun. But pretty much outside of those two, milk cartons, ghosts. Nobody. The bottom six. I'm not going to throw that on the kid line. That's a young line. Matt Savoy is the most established player on that line and doesn't even have close to a full season of games under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
So that, whatever. I'm giving those three a pass. But like the Henrique line, 34 games without a goal.
Yeah.
Trent Frederick is milk carton pretty much all year. I don't know what to say about this team right now other than everybody's asleep other than Connor McDavid. And you can see McDavid trying to take over the games by himself. And unfortunately right now, they can't defend well enough for McDavid's, 2-3 point night efforts to even amount to anything.
Yeah, and it's almost like kind of feeling like you're at your wit's end as someone who's watching the team on a game-to-game basis, and you say, like, why can't they figure it out? Like, they have the personnel, at least from a on paper standpoint, right? That they've made moves to try and shore these things up, but all the swings they've taken, with maybe the exception of Jack Roslovic, have missed, right? Like, you mentioned the names, Mangiapane, Frederick, Adam Henrique has really been showing his age this season, at least as an offensive contributor. He seems to be slated in to be like a fourth line center, maybe even your extra centerman on a team that is expected to make another deep playoff run. So it raises the questions, Donovan, about like, what do you do with the bottom six in particular moving forward? Do you shuffle the top six to try and awake the rest of the players around the lineup? Because as you said, McDavid, Hyman, yep, they continue to roll along for the most part. But even Leon Draisaitl has gone quite quiet. I think he's 1 5-on-5 goal since the start of December or near it. Vasily Podkolzin still does so many other things well, but like it's worth being said that at this point you do need to produce. And I've been a pretty staunch defender of Podkolzin's role in the top six and what he does bring. You do still have to score, right? You have to chip in offensively. If you're not scoring, you better be a premier setup man for the likes of Leon Draisaitl, or maybe it's Jack Roslovic. So it's kind of at the point now where I do think Chris Knobloch and the rest of his staff have to get a little creative. You've brought yourself back into the mix as a playoff team, right? They're not toiling at the bottom of the division. They're right there for first place in it, as a matter of fact, in the Pacific, along with Vegas. Anaheim still kicking around, although they're in a bit of a skid right now. you've bought yourself a little bit of goodwill in the standings to try some things. You don't just have to roll out McDavid, Hyman, and Draisaitl for the last 4 straight minutes of a hockey game. And then you talk about the kid line, their minutes, their time on ice was around or under 10, 30 seconds of which, a shift of which came after the empty net goal, right? So like it's a nothing burger shift.
Yep, and they got trapped in their own zone a couple of times too, which makes those minutes probably a little higher than they otherwise would have been.
Yeah, just the shifts were extended because they couldn't get out of their zone.
Yeah, and part of that falls on some pretty sloppy breakout attempts, some pretty sloppy defensive zone play in general from whether it was them or otherwise. I'm looking at this team right now and I'm saying, absolutely. I'm right with you, Duke, on the creativity. That was something I preached post-game is if you're Chris Knobloch right now, let's find some creativity here. This is something that I wanted to see a little bit more of last year as well when they were going through some of their struggles. I understand that the Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman McDavid line has been on fire. And I understand that it's tailed off a little bit more recently, but in December, that line was unbelievable. That was the best line in hockey. That was the best, one of the best months, if not the best, of Connor McDavid's career. And now you're seeing it tail off and you're seeing everyone else kind of falling down into a little bit of a slump here. And if you're Chris Knobloch, it's time. Experiment. You're still in great shape despite some pretty lackluster play at times this season. You can lose a couple of games. What's the worst that's going to happen? You lose a few games and you fall down into third in the Pacific. Oh no, you're still going to be a playoff team. You know what this team is. But for me, like, I would probably try Ike Howard up on the first line. I would probably be running Podkolzin, Nugent-Hopkins, and Hudson as my third line, and that would leave you Roslovic, Draisaitl, and Savoy for your second. But to me, Vasily Podkolzin, he's had a great season. No question. I've loved his game.
That extension they signed at the start of the year has largely looked better and better with each passing day.
Exactly.
Right? Like, he is a part of the team moving forward.
No question.
And a valuable one at that.
But for me right now, with the way that everything's going, I want to slide Podkolzin down onto my third line, and I want Nuge as that 3C. It's just, if you want a third line, you have to sacrifice something from the top 6. And the easiest answer for that is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It's just, Nuge is having a great year. Podkolzin having a great year. The offense has slipped recently. And then you pair them up with a guy who's had some wonderful success down in Bako and Hudson. You've got to play the young guys. And if you're not going to play the kid line, if you're not going to produce in the top 6, I want to see a shuffling. That's what I would do personally. I don't know who agrees, who doesn't, but I think that's probably the easiest way out of your bottom 6 lull. And then your fourth line, it's just called, just figure it out, guys.
Yeah, go out there and don't be a detriment. Don't be a liability. And I do believe that the players available to them have the capability of doing that, right? Because if you can get a goal from a fourth line once every, we talking handful of games from the trio of 4 guys 10. You're rotating, I think that's okay. You just don't want them going out there and going -3 in their 12 minutes that they give you every night. And if we're talking about a line of Adam Henrique, Matthias Janmark, and, Kasperi, and Kapanen's an interesting name to add here because his return is imminent, and changes are going to have to be made for the sake of the salary cap implications and lineup-wise because he's a guy that's going to play. But I've liked mostly what I've seen from Curtis Lazar this year. I think he's a valuable fourth-line player. Where does that leave you all of a sudden with all those potential top 3 lines you just listed out, Donovan? Nowhere in that, or my hypothetical fourth line to round it out, are the names Trent Frederick or Andrew Mangiapane.
No, and Mangiapane, to me, that is press box till you're traded. He's just been simply that bad, and there is no fit for him. There is no role for him. I think that's beyond a failed experiment at this point. I've written him off.
Text line 1-833-401-1440. Lots of ideas here about how to, as we said, Donovan, get creative in this current stretch of the season where it's a very condensed schedule in January in particular for the Oilers. And then you talk about start of February as well before they break for the Olympics. My main reasoning for this is that the trade deadline comes up early March. You've got a big gap in Olympic play. you need to kind of figure out what you have and what you don't. Now, I think as a team, we have a good indication on some fronts, but you need to figure out, is Ike Howard ready to play at the NHL level for the rest of the season? Is Matt Savoy a top 6 player? Or is he maybe a third line complementary player at this stage of his career? You need to figure those things out, and you can't do it by playing all 3 rookies on one line for 9 minutes. I don't think so. I don't think an assessment can be properly made with that deployment. So your idea, Donovan, of kind of spreading almost like one of those young players on each line, I'm here for it. But the reality is I don't think all 3 will be here for very long, like present tense, because of the return of Kapanen and the other restrictions that the roster possesses. Let's dive into some text here before we go to our first break. Gilly, Manji and Freddie are both healthy scratches according to lines of practice this morning. Not a great look for management. Well, look for management. What are you talking about? Just because they're healthy scratches this morning, we've been watching them all year. They should have been healthy scratches umpteen times prior to this. It's the goodwill of the coaching staff with veteran players, essentially, that has held each of them only out of the lineup. What are we talking, once or twice each at this point?
For Frederick, I think it's
still just the once? Before
yeah.
last Christmas game against Calgary.
Yeah,
and Mangiapane was that was his second on the weekend. So yeah, it's not ideal. That is for sure. Cal, 4th line, Frederick 2 goals, Henrique 2 goals, Janmark 1 goal, 5 goals in 42 games. Mangiapane -17, useless. Brett, I think it's time to move Savoy up to the first line and Nuge to the third line center with the other 2 kids. Just think about how it is in the minors for them. They have a bit of a veteran presence center. They're playing unreal. I think Nuge centering those 2 would be a great thing for the third line. I think I'm there with you, Brett. Talk about where you put the likes of Hudson and Howard, but I do think the move in the short term would be best served with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as your third line center, because yes, that top line has been red hot, but at a certain point, you have to explore what else is available to you. I think. Rig texted, I thought the kid line was a dumb idea. I'm right there with you, Rig. I thought that was putting 3 players in a pretty tough position. Even like the Flyers, we still have, at least speak for myself, we still have it in our mind that they're the Flyers. This is a pretty good hockey team. And they've been getting, like, they're very stingy too, right? Defensively, and the Vladar has been excellent this year. They have you talk about a team with a lot of good players. The Flyers absolutely are in that camp.
For sure. Top 10 defensive team in the NHL this year.
Like Ristolainen just got back. I know he's a polarizing player, but that's a guy that can eat minutes for you back there and do a few different things. You have some puck movers in Drysdale and York. Travis Sanheim, he's going to be an Olympian. And I know, like, put me in the camp that raised my eyebrows at his addition to the roster. He kind of showed on several different fronts against the Oilers on Saturday why he deserves to be on that team. The Olympic team, that is. He is as stout defensively. When you talk about how big and rangy he is, he moves well. I thought that was a pretty good statement for maybe some Western viewers on a Saturday afternoon that don't get to watch Travis Sanheim play all that regularly. And I got a goal for his efforts too, just as a cherry on top.
I'm a huge fan of Rick Tocchet and the way he coaches his teams.
He's turned Trevor Zegras into the team's leading scorer in this his first season for both of them.
The Michkov thing is interesting, and I'm curious to see what's going to shake out there as time continues. But man, like Rick Tocchet consistently, even going back to the Canucks head coach, Rick Tocchet's teams usually kind of find a way to outwork this Oilers team, and Rick Tocchet kind of has the formula for me for beating this Oilers group, which is just simply hard work, effort, pin them down low, and like the Oilers will force themselves into some mistakes and they'll shoot themselves in the foot. And I thought they did that big time. This Flyers team has really impressed me. They are trending towards being a playoff team this year. We'll see, maybe they collapse. This is still a team that is relatively unproven when you look at their roster. But man, I was really, really impressed with them. They are they're quickly becoming one of those teams I'm looking out for over the course of the year to see kind of where this thing goes. Because I think based on what I saw And based on Rick Tocchet, not necessarily sky's the limit. They're not going to be a contender this year, but they could make some noise.
I think they could be a team that gives people fits down the stretch,
sure.
and even like if they do get in a potential first round playoff matchup, like don't expect them to go away quietly. I mean, you took it how even the East is, right? Overall. We'll step aside very quickly before we go to break. You can get your thoughts in on this as well. 1-833-414-1440. The team is skating this morning, right? So we have some line combinations that they are rolling out on this Monday practice, courtesy of our very own Jason Gregor down at the skate. Top line remaining intact: RNH, McDavid, Hyman, Podkolzin, Draisaitl, Kapanen, Howard, Henrique, and Roslovic, Janmark, Lazar, and Savoy, and then Frederick, Hudson, and Mangiapane as the de facto fifth line, slated towards not being in the lineup tomorrow when they take on Nashville. On the back end, looks to be largely the same. Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Regula, Stastny, Emberson, Wallman, and Stillman also taking some reps there. Connor Ingram in the starters net. And Jake Wallman is skating with the main group. So that's worth noting. And Gregor did add that expect Hudson to head down to Bakersfield when they activate Kapanen, which, according to Greg, based on Gregor's indication, would be for tomorrow's game. So, chew on that here for a few minutes as we step aside. It's a Fantasy Frenzy. Brandon Douglas, Donovan Paulson, Josh Fenwick, all in studio with you this morning. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and Twitch, and we're brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky.
Across the province, Albertans are taking their shot on Play Alberta. With casino winners every hour, jackpots worth millions, and revenue that stays in the province, there's never been a better time to sign up. Right now, our listeners can score a $50 free bet when they make a minimum $50 deposit with code Gregor50. That's code Gregor50 for a $50 free bet. Start playing with your game sense today to find out if you're Alberta's next winner.
A pizza from Papa John's is already pretty great, but you know what's even better? 2 pizzas from Papa John's. For a limited time, get a medium one-topping pizza for only $6 when you order any large specialty pizza at regular menu price. Whether you're feeding your family, your team, or yourself, get your next meal from your locally owned and operated Papa John's with a $6 one-top medium when you order any large specialty at regular menu price. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
When picking a New Year's resolution, try to avoid things you have no influence over.
Like bringing home the cup? That would be awesome.
But completely outside your control. Instead, pick something you can control, like bringing home some Wilhauk beef jerky.
That would also be awesome. But what if we brought the cup home to Canada and it was filled with Wilhauk beef jerky?
Okay, I'll allow it.
Wilhauk beef jerky, only available in Leduc. Get yours today, because you don't win cups with salad.
From the locker room to your radio, Sports 1440 is Edmonton's sports leader. Real talk, big personalities, and your texts. It's interactive. It's fun. It's where Edmonton talks sports. Sports 1440.
For almost half a century, families, farmers, and mechanics across Alberta have trusted Ed's Auto Salvage in Westlock. Why? Because we know cars and we know value. Hi, Lisa here. And whether it's keeping your work truck hauling or getting your teenager's first car back on the road, Ed's has the parts you need at prices you can afford. Reliable, affordable, local. That's Ed's Auto Salvage. With province-wide shipping and daily delivery to Edmonton, visit us at edsautosalvage.com.
Across rural Alberta, volunteers and community groups work hard to make life better for their neighbors, creating new playgrounds, better rinks, and gathering places that bring us together. Vision Credit Union is proud to lend these local heroes a helping hand. Apply today for a Helping Hand grant up to $10,000 to support your community's next big idea. Let's make great things happen together. Applications are open until January 31st, 2026. Learn more at what's
Get the inside scoop for your team on Fantasy Frenzy with Halley and Douglas on Sports 1440.
Presented by Will Hawk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
$11:25. Welcome back into Fantasy Frenzy here on Sports 1440. Brandon Douglas sitting in for Connor Halley this morning, which means I guess it's Fantasy Frenzy with Douglas and Paulson. Josh Fenwick also assisting, as he always does on the program, keeping us online where you can watch us, YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, listening online, iHeartRadio, TuneIn app, sports1440.ca, or the good old AM dial. Little familiarity there, old school. I love it. Live from the Stingray Studios right here in West Edmonton Mall. And I pray that here we are, the first full week of January, that the traffic and the busyness here around West Edmonton Mall begins to dissipate. I have a benefit of arriving here to this building well before the vast majority of anybody else that isn't already here working, right? Leaving, it's already a zoo around midday, just after lunchtime, 1:30, 2 o'clock or so. I cannot even comprehend what it is like for Gregor. Connor gets here a little early, obviously, for this show, but Declan, Donovan and Walker, when they're coming in for pre and post game shows, this place has been a zoo for the past 2 weeks. I honestly don't even think it's been longer than 2 weeks, because in the start of December, Donovan, we were talking, saying like, is it just me or is the mall a little quieter this year? And then week of Christmas shot right up, and it has not really let off since. Now, that comes hand in hand with Boxing Day and everybody out there hunting for the best deals. But all the same, if you are in about safe travels, roads still pretty slick in most areas of the city. Lots of snow piling up. Lots and lots of snow piling up. The text line, 1-833-401-1440. Lots of thoughts on the Oilers as we kicked off the show discussing their loss to Philadelphia. And what does the makeup of this team look like moving forward? Let's jump into a few more of them here, Donovan. Team Dean, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but why does Henrique seem to escape criticism and the coach's wrath? In my opinion, he's been worse than Frederic and Mangiapane. Old, small, slow, and just sucks the life out of offense on his line. Yes, he wins faceoffs, but he's still bad defensively. Team Dean. Donovan, I fully acknowledge that, having watched Henrique in Anaheim for a number of years, where I watched him every game, and that was at a time when he was still a much more productive player. Like, it's just natural. I have an affinity for him, and I, focus on him a little bit. I will disagree that he's been worse than Frederic and Mangiapane, because for one sole reason, you don't expect Adam Henrique. It's not in his makeup to go out and do other things. What he's asked of at this point, win faceoffs, kill penalties, and not be a liability. Now, maybe if in Team Dean's opinion, he has been. Like I said, apart from winning faceoffs, doesn't think he's good defensively. Trent Frederic and Andrew Mangiapane were brought here to do other things. Primarily, maybe play in your top six, if possible, score goals, and provide an element this team does not otherwise possess. Physicality, a little bit of feistiness, getting under opponent's skin. They don't do any of that right now. So I'll disagree with Team Dean a little bit on that, but I do think it's worth saying he absolutely should not escape criticism. And the reason why I think he would not take a turn in the press box is because he plays center and he kills penalties. Am I wrong here, Donovan?
No, I don't think you're wrong whatsoever. Absolutely, Adam Henrique deserves the criticism coming his way right now. He's simply not been good enough, no doubt. But I would say that entire bottom six has simply not been good enough.
For sure.
And you can look towards Trent Frederic and Andrew Mangiapane as your two big guys who you're going to look at and say, these are the big problem children right now. These are the big guys who are really kind of just can't find any semblance of their game. For me, I'm going to disagree on Henrique's a liability in his own zone right now. I think he's still a pretty decent defensive player.
He is slow,
one part of his game right now.
The boots are nothing to write home about. I don't think he's like, and this Team Dean, Henrique is so slow, like beer league slow. I don't think he's that slow. He's a fourth line center. Now, has he been properly deployed where he's been playing some third line stuff? Yeah, I suppose there's an argument to be made there that he's not being used properly. Maybe like some other players in this lineup. The fact that they're being used at all. In the case of Frederic and Mangiapane, who appear to both be headed to the press box for tomorrow night.
Which is probably where they belong right now at this point.
Right now, yes.
For Trent Frederic, you're hoping this is the kick in the behind that maybe you didn't see. Maybe he didn't get the message when you scratched him before Christmas. That's what you're hoping for Frederic, because you got another 7 years after this one. But for Mangiapane, I think this is just simply called, we're scratching you till you're gone. That's how I'm looking at it, is you haven't been a fit. We think we're a better team without you. You're minus 17. You've been awful. Just stay in the press box.
Now, Donovan, we're on these airways for a very short period of time, just under half hour left to go in the program. So I do want to touch on some other things. There's plenty more Oilers talk still to come, and I'm sure we will revisit this because the text line is a flurry here before the program is out. But I do want to talk to you about the NFL, right? The regular season in the books last night. Mentioned off the top, great Sunday Night Football game. Didn't start that way. Looked like a very traditional AFC North slog fest. But it opens up in the second half, and we were treated to an absolute dandy. And you and I both in agreement as soon as you walked in the studio this morning, why does anybody trust a kicker? I put the tweet out last night, like, you have scored touchdowns on drives of 3 and 4 plays, respectively, your last 2 times possessing the football. You just get a huge chunk play, use your second to last timeout, meaning you have one left with, 14 seconds?
Yep.
12, 14 seconds. You have a timeout. You're in Steelers territory, and you elect to take a knee, call your last timeout, and kick a 44-yarder with a rookie kicker who's been pretty good this year. Tyler Loop. Feel for that guy. Whew. But why? Derrick Henry was averaging 6 yards a carry last night. No harm in touting him. You have the timeout. You can run the ball. Let's just say you don't get any yards. Gain of 0. All right, you lose your last timeout. Now you've got somewhere between 8 to 10 seconds probably after one run play. You're at around the 30, 35-yard line. Can you not take a couple shots into the end zone? The worst thing that happens is it gets picked off, right? Which I understand. Coaches are just so naturally risk averse, with minor exception, that Harbaugh looks at it and says, nope, don't want to risk it, even though you've been torching the secondary the entire quarter. And instead you roll out this rookie kicker for a 44-yarder. Don't even try to run another offensive play. You kneel it down to lose 2 more yards, by the way.
Yep.
And then you miss the kick and you say, well, that happens. Kickers miss sometimes. Kickers miss all the time. It's part of what they do. And when you have a rookie kicker, even if he's had a good season, I don't, why are you just expecting that to be made at that stage with that pressure, that environment, all these factors? To me, it was setting themselves up for success. Or up for failure, excuse me. I know I'm in the minority here because it's just not the way the game is coached and plays are called. But why is it that way?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can absolutely look at John Harbaugh and say, and have questions this morning for that decision. For me, you've got one of the premier running backs in the NFL. You've got Derrick Henry. You've got to trust that. I know he's had some fumbles this year at some pretty inopportune times, but you've got to trust that at the biggest moment, Derrick Henry's going to not fumble the football. And you've got to trust that Derrick Henry can get you, I don't know, that extra 5 yards closer, make it an easier kick.
Why? Yeah, even if you just run one more play.
Just run something.
And
take a shot.
MTR texts in, absolutely not. Every team in the NFL would have done what the Ravens did. Make the kick simple. Yeah, make the kick so simple that they missed it. In a world of football where we have Cam Little booting in 65-yarders and things that are 50 plus seem routine for a lot of guys in the league, that doesn't mean that anything 35 plus, 40 plus, whatever you want to call it, should they be freebies? Yeah, they should be. That's why they're PATs at that distance, right? If we're getting a little shorter than what Luke tried to kick. But they still get missed. I get MTR's text that says every other coach would have done it, with probably very few exceptions. Why, though? Why can you not run one more play? You have the timeout. So back to the worst thing that could happen is an interception or a fumble. The next worst thing that could happen is you're at the exact same spot trying your kick with 2 seconds left because you threw a couple incomplete passes or you stopped the clock after one run. I don't know. That was just the finale. That was the conclusion. The Steelers win. They get the last playoff spot. They win the AFC North in the process. They will now host the Houston Texans for a Monday night tilt where the Steelers at home, as Josh well pointed out earlier this morning, on Monday night, I don't believe have lost under Mike Tomlin. Monday night home games, the Steelers are undefeated with Mike Tomlin as the head coach. Pretty tough look for my Texans, who win their final game yesterday. Didn't matter. Jags beat up on the Titans. They win the South. And then, but I think there was some seeding to be shuffled out yesterday, Donnie. But one of the first games in the morning slate was the Falcons and the Saints to determine the winner of the NFC South, a division in which both of them are in, but neither could win. The Falcons finished 8-9, the same record as the Bucs and the Panthers, who win it. But the Falcons have been eliminated from the playoffs for a month. This division sucks. The Panthers host the Rams as 9.5-point underdogs, despite the fact that the Panthers beat the Rams less than a month ago. Make sense of all this to me in a way, Donovan. 9.5 points is a lot, especially for a road team. But is it warranted, even though they already lost to this team this year?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And you've got to expect, I know the Panthers are the Panthers, but you can't have that high of a spread in a playoff game.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. You've got to figure that there's going to be some level of competition, especially considering that the Rams kind of, you mentioned it, have already previously laid an egg to that same team earlier in the season. I don't expect the Panthers to win this game at all, but would I expect the Panthers to keep it closer than 9.5? Yeah. I mean, it's not like this is the Rams versus the New York Jets. It's not like this is the Rams versus the Cleveland Browns. It's not like this is one of the worst teams in football. Panthers, they're not great, but they're going to lose this game.
They have elements that make them decent. Say what you want, condemn the division, condemn a sub 500 team getting in. Bryce Young played pretty well this year. Teteroa McMillan has every making of a number one wide receiver and a dominant one at that. The secondary receivers, Coker, Leggett, I thought really showed growth this season. It's too bad they lost Saunders, the big tight end, because he was having a good year. And then the two-headed running back system in Hubbard and Dowdle, I don't hate that either. Now, defensively, there's a few more holes, I think, but J.C. Horn is one of the best. They have guys. So I'm with you, Donovan. I think they lose this game running away. But for the books to say that it's a 2-score game at home, it is surprising. I do think they already beat them this year.
Yeah. And I will point to with the Panthers, I think when they have to throw the ball and they fall behind early, when you need to see a Bryce Young just passing extravaganza, then that's when you might see the minus 9.5. But if they are allowed to run the ball with Dowdle or Hubbard, then to me, that's the perfect recipe for Carolina. Every time they've been allowed to run the ball this year versus an opponent with whatever the game script may hold, they've looked really good. They need to find their run game, because if they do that, that's when this team's found success. And when they haven't been allowed to run the ball, when they've fallen behind early, that's when this team looks bad. Because granted, Bryce Young's still growing and he's still evolving. I've liked Bryce Young's game this year a lot, but he still does need to continue to evolve, I think, as a quarterback. But if they can run the ball, there's no reason they can't be at least somewhat in this football game.
The head coaching carousel is turning, Donovan. I'm going to read out the teams that currently have head coaching vacancies. And then when we come back for our final segment, we'll dive into them a little bit. Maybe are there any more heads to roll here before the day is out? But teams that currently need a new head coach as of either earlier this year or today. Not the New York Jets, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, the Atlanta Falcons, the Vegas Raiders, and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, my count makes 6 there, if I'm not mistaken, unless something else has happened in the last 35 minutes that I was yet unaware of. But I think that's the most recent head toll we have. Those are the 6 teams that need a new head coach. Are there more? If you're a listener, is your team, if you like your NFL team, do you want them to move on from whomever it may be? Is it Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay? Is it Aaron Glenn in New York after just one season with the Jets? So we'll discuss that and also dip into some World Junior talk. To wrap up the program, when we return, it's Fantasy Frenzy. Brandon Douglas sitting in for Connor Halley this morning, Donovan Paulson, Josh Fenwick, both alongside on Sports 1440, streaming on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and it's brought to you by Will Hawk Beef Jerky.
New Year's resolutions. We all make them. We all say we're going to start eating healthier or going to the gym or starting that new hobby. But at GS Construction, we actually follow through on our New Year's resolution because it's the same every year. We promise to set the groundwork, literally, for another year of progress and growth. And we've stuck by that resolution since 1974. So start that all-you-can-eat diet. GS Construction is going to start planning right now for the year ahead. For more on what we do, visit gsconstruction.ca.
Do you listen to sports radio at work? Like right now? Well, do you?
Who, me? No way. I swear.
Okay, friend, we won't tell. Tens of thousands of sports fans listen to Sports 1440 each and every day. On the radio, on the listening apps, on YouTube, and on social media. If you listen to Sports 1440 at work, well, maybe it's time to advertise on Sports 1440 at work. Grow your business. Get your name out there. Shoot our ad team an email. Gregor@sports1440.ca. Let's get to work for you.
Looking for the perfect gift? Give the gift of great taste with a Loca Quality Market gift card. Redeemable at any Loca Quality Market or Loca-operated restaurant. It's a treat for food lovers. Ready anytime. Grab yours today at loca.ca.
Your fantasy football league sucks. Why? Oh, we've got 7 painfully accurate reasons. And don't worry, we've got fixes too. Visit fantasytoilet.com for all the tools and hilarious awards to make your fantasy league suck less.
At Fountain Tire, success is a team effort. They're committed to their team members and their customers. And that means treating your vehicle like it's their own and finding solutions that suit your needs. Because whatever the road brings ahead, they're on it with you. Visit fountaintire.com today.
Across rural Alberta, volunteers and community groups work hard to make life better for their neighbors, creating new playgrounds, better rinks, and gathering places that bring us together. Vision Credit Union is proud to lend these local heroes a helping hand. Apply today for a Helping Hand grant up to $10,000 to support your community's next big idea. Let's make great things happen together. Applications are open until January 31st, 2026. Learn more at what'syourshare.ca.
You know, this year I can't decide what to work on for my New Year's resolution. See, my confidence, my appearance, or my general happiness.
Why not improve all 3 by finally addressing your hair loss? Hi, I'm Dr. Vancelia. Receding hairlines and bald spots can chip away at your self-image, make you look older, and feel unattractive. Let's discuss your options for regaining a full natural head of hair and make this the year you get your mojo back. Book a free first consultation today at drvancelia.com.
Every coach needs a game plan. Plan your fantasy frenzy with Halley and Douglas right here on Edmonton's Sports 1440.
Presented by Will Hawk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky.
Home stretch of Fantasy Frenzy. Brandon Douglas, Donovan Paulson in today. Connor Halley will be back on Wednesday as he enjoys a couple days away with the family out in beautiful Jasper. A little frigid, I would think, but I'm sure well bundled up, enjoying the natural beauty of the western portion of our province. Josh Femick alongside as well. The show brought to you by Will Hawk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky, online at willhawkbeefjerky.com. You can also go find them in Leduc and only in Leduc. I've been taking a lot of heat going back to the start of December, Donovan, because I had alluded to the possibility of me stopping in at Wilhawk on my way south for a trip back to Delburn a couple times. You know, senior outlaw games, Christmas, and things like that. And then because naturally I'm terrible at allocating my time. I was like, oh, I can't leave yet, even though Wilhawk closes at a regular time of day. I was like, I'm not going to make it before they close. And I show up empty-handed with no Wilhawk beef jerky, and I'm essentially ostracized from the local community because even down in central Alberta, they know that it's Alberta's best beef jerky. And Connor will say this all the time. I'm not afraid to say it either. Canada's best beef jerky. It's that good.
It's dynamic.
Whoa, dynamic. I like that. I like that a lot, Donovan. Coming up at the top of the hour when we wrap up is going to be the Lowdown with Low Tide. LT will be flanked by his usual cast of characters. Josh Fenwick, not Donovan Paulson. You're in tomorrow, maybe. Declan Kruger. He's the man. I don't know if we know officially who's going to be on the show today, but I know Jason Greger's going to pop on. They'll talk plenty of Oilers. I know Low Tide, was it on Friday, where he was saying, if they play these kids less than 10 minutes, I'm going to have something to say Monday morning. Well, I think only one of them officially came in under the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, it was Hudson. I think he was 9:17, and then the others were
just
it was like 10:16, and then Howard was, I think, like 10:30.
So I wonder if that'll be close enough that Low Tide lets it go. Something tells me not the case. And then 2 to 6, Jason Greger will pop in. Declan and Donovan will be in for that one. Greg's Monday show, usually Kevin Woodley, I think. Sean Brown maybe popping by to co-host for a couple hours. Anyone else off the top of your mind that's a Monday staple on that program? Either you two? You'd think I should know this. I hear Connor say it every Monday, but I'm usually not paying attention.
I can confirm Kevin Woodley will be on at 2:20 today.
Nice.
We will have Dave McCarthy.
There we are.
We will have, of course, Mr. Mark Spector. Bill Bender going to pop on to talk some NFL. And we're going to work things out from there. But it should be a fun show as per usual.
And just the rest of the Lowdown lineup, Declan just sent it. Rumors, NFL playoff predictions. As I mentioned, Greger will be on at 1:20. And then Mama MMA for declinations here on this Monday morning. The text line, 1-833-401-1440. Lots of Oilers text, mostly centering around the third and fourth lines and each individual's opinion on what to do with them. Northside Lou, Janmark has been the only bottom six player that's brought any value. Team Dean continuing on the Henrique conversation. He's -9. He's not the only reason. He just seems to be Teflon with this coach, indicating that, nothing sticks to him. Nice reference there, Team Dean. Greater Man Jay, other than Roslovic, what has Bowman done for us so far? Horrible extension for Frederick. Another small forward pickup, overpaying Mangiapane. And Cousin Nails, down in my neck of the woods, speaking of Delburn, we all know the players that need to go down but can't. Frederick needs to find his game, and how he can be in the press box. 88 is a write-off. And he also added any word on Jari. No, I don't believe so. I think it's still looking
middle of the month.
That was the original timeline, right?
Yeah, that was the original timeline. We'll see if he should be on track. I mean,
we haven't seen him back on the ice, I guess.
True.
But I mean, if it's a lower body injury, like I don't think you'd be even out there testing anything until you're feeling pretty well 100, right?
And we kind of assume, like, they never tell us anything, but we kind of assume it is that groin area, right? So you're not going to test out the groin too much. I would assume that would just be some strength stuff in the weight room. But other than that, you might not see him on the ice for a bit, but expect to see him mid-January.
And then Len, Text in, I still think that half the Oilers' issue is coaching. You can't just bring up AHL players and expect them to be great. You have to give them minutes to learn and improve, which means sticking with them when they make inevitable mistakes. It's an interesting point, Len, because we know that this team and the coaching staff, previous coaching staffs, they've shown a leniency on mistakes, right? Players make mistakes. It's part of the game. And players that have the puck more naturally are prone to making more mistakes just because of it's a numbers game, right? If you have the puck on your stick more than any other player, you're more likely to have more turnovers, but also more points, goals, etc. So what I'm speaking to specifically here is obviously like Evan Bouchard on the back end makes some mistakes, some of them egregious at times, which can be frustrating. Leon Draisaitl, I think a little bit like it's almost like he's regressed in that sense a little bit this year, where he seems to be turning the puck over more than in the last couple of years where he'd cleaned that up a lot, blind hope passes. He makes plays that no one else is capable of, but sometimes he's even pushing his own boundaries about where he thinks he can feather pucks through or past defenders. So we've seen them get benched at times, not for very long or very often. But then you see this and yeah, like Oilers young players, they have a bad shift. Well, it's like, they're not earning their ice time. If they play 4 shifts and then they don't see the ice again until the end of the game in garbage minutes, how do you know if they learned from it? Now, different game scenarios dictate different coaching strategies. For once again, in that Flyers game, the end of game, before the empty net goal, the 6-man unit was out there for like over 3 minutes. It was almost 4 minutes, I think, by the time the empty netter went in. That is too long, even with a timeout in the middle. Like, you could see it. Bouchard, forget about fighting for that puck on the loose play. Was Konechny that got the empty netter? Like, the little battle at their own blue line. Tippett, thank you. Really good player, by the way.
Love Tippett.
Guy plays with speed and a little bit of tenacity, and he's a shooter. Like, Bouchard had nothing left in the tank to even challenge that puck. So, I don't know. Like, it's clear that this is a one-unit type scoring team right now. That has to change if you want to have more prolonged success. And that is in the sense of this season, into the playoffs, and deep into the playoffs.
I will also say, like, I don't understand. So when you call up some really highly skilled offensive players and you're falling behind in a game, to me, in my mind, their minutes should be higher than the fourth line of Adam Henrique, Trent Frederick, and Matthias Janmark. Like, those younger guys are going to give you a better chance to score. I know you're not going to start them in the defensive zone. I know you're not going to give them, highly, but you're not going to play into the matchups too much where you're going to be like, let's get you out there against Sean Couturier. You're going to try and fade them against those guys. But, like, wouldn't you play them more when you fall down like that? Like, those are your guys who are going to maybe score you a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just in the minority there?
No, it's. I don't think there is a singular correct answer, despite how many listeners, you and I, Low Tide, Carrier's great. It doesn't, like, we all have ideas and opinions about how to remedy it. There's probably several different ways to a finish line that helps, but right now it just kind of seems like they're stuck in their ways and stuck in a little bit of a rut since the Christmas break. They have not played well as a team since then. And you can put that on some coaching choices, some execution by the players, situations they're put in. It all factors in. It's not a singular issue. As much as you want to point the fingers at one player, two players, it is beyond that. It is. So we can temper our frustrations at least a little bit in that sense. Really quickly, Donnie, as we wrap it up, I mentioned out all the teams in the NFL that now have coaching vacancies. Some of them were in-season firings, like the New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans. But we've seen a few more heads roll here in the sake of the Falcons, the Browns, the Cardinals this morning. Any more that you can envision coming?
Man, I might lean to the Bulls in Tampa.
If Pittsburgh loses in the first round in, let's say, resounding fashion, like if the Texans blow them out, and it's ugly, home game for the Steelers, do you think Tomlin's seat gets warmer again? Because it seemed really warm midseason and cooled off a bit.
No, I think it's Mike Tomlin. I think that's about as safe a job as you can have in professional sports.
You have no thought that John Harbaugh's job is in jeopardy.
I was just going to say that is the one where I look at it and I say I don't think it is, but to me, like the Baltimore Ravens have choked a ton recently.
I agree.
And to me, that is
they've not been to a Super Bowl despite having Jackson as a 2-time MVP. All these things.
You can chalk that up to maybe you look at John Harbaugh and say, culture. Question mark.
Yeah. Low Tide's got you at the top of the hour with the lowdown. Before that, let's get to a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Wilhauk Beef Jerky, home of Alberta's best beef jerky. Check them out online, wilhaukbeefjerky.com, or down in Leduc, and only available in Leduc. Here is Donovan Paulson.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
5 games on your NHL slate tonight. The Flames welcome the Kraken to town. The Wild are in LA to play the Kings. The Sens clash with the Ducks. They clash with the Caps. The Rangers take on the Mammoth World Juniors Team Canada. They are battling Finland for the bronze medal at 2:30. Czechia meets up with Sweden for the gold medal at 6:30 on the hard court. The Raps, they host the Hawks. Tip-off set for 5:30. Coming up on Sports 1440, it's the lowdown with Low Tide. I'm Donovan Paulson. That's your Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray Radio.